श्री गणेशाय नमः। ॐ श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। Can you all chant together? प्रथम भगति संतन कर संगा, दूसरी रति मम कथा प्रसंगा। गुरुपद पंकज सेवा, तीसरी भगति अमान। चौथी भगति मम गुण गण, ररई कपट तजिगान। मंत्र जाप मम दृढ़ विश्वासा, पंचम भजन सुभेद प्रकाशा। छठ दम शील बिरति बहुकर्मा, निरत निरंतर सज्जन धर्मा। सातव सम मोहिमय जग देखा, मोते संत अधिक करि लेखा। आठव जथा लाभ संतोषा, सपनहु नहीं देखें पर दोषा। नवम सरल सब सन छल हीना, मम भरोसहिय हर्षन दीना। सियावर रामचंद्र की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय। बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय। We have seen the first five, right? Yeah, mantra jap. छठ दमशील बिरति बहु कर्मा, निरत निरंतर सज्जन धर्मा। छठ दमशील बिरति बहु कर्मा। Dama is to have control, and Sila is to be virtuous. The difference between values and virtues is that values are respected when you see them, when you come across them. When somebody is very pious, you appreciate, you respect them for that. When you see somebody being very gentle and yet very truthful, you respect that. These are values. But when you start applying these values in our own lives, when we see that these values are reflecting in our day-to-day actions, that is when these values are called virtues. And such people who practice these values on a day-to-day basis are called these virtuous people. Sheelavanta, those who have these virtues. Chata dama sila birati bahu karma. First is, the last one is birati bahu karma. It can mean many things. Two simple meanings for it. One, there are two kinds of sins that we do on a day-to-day basis with an expertise. What are these sins? One, that which we should not be doing and which we very joyfully indulge in. Such sins are one category of sins. That which we should not be doing, but we end up doing. The second is that which we should be doing, but we look at them as burden, pain, restrictions, and we don't do it. That is also a sin. So here he says, Birati Bahu Karma. In the field of actions, withdrawing from the actions intelligently. What is the withdrawal? The withdrawal is that which we should not be performing, withdrawing from it, and that which stops us from performing our duties, responsibilities and obligations, that which is blocking us to do it, withdrawing from such resistance, such lethargy, such lazy tamasic patterns is called birati. Rati is to indulge. Birati is to withdraw. That is why Kamadeva's wife's name is Rati Devi. Rati Devi, because wherever there is Kama, there is indulgence. So to withdraw from that Kama desire, that desire which stops us from doing what we need to, and that desire which promotes us to do things that which we should not. Birati Bahu Karma. And then it says, Nirata Nirantara Sajjana Dharma. See, when we go out interacting with the people, we have such opinion about people around us, don't we? More than any good opinion, we seem to know more about everybody's bad. That is where our focus is. Because our conditioning is like that. See, right from very young, our focus is that which is not there, we try to focus on that the most, whether in ourselves or in outside. For example, when we were young, I don't think you are still at that age wherein that experiences repeat itself. But when you are young, and you do remember maybe that when you lose your tooth, what are you constantly doing? Right at that place where the tooth is gone, with your tongue, with your finger, you're constantly fiddling with it. That which is not there, to fiddle around with that is a psychological conditioning. Say the milk is given and the glass is half empty. So you immediately ask, why is the, can't you give me full glass? My cousin was there. He's still there, but he is no more a child. So whenever he would demand a glass full of milk, his mother would go add some warm water into it and the glass would be full. He would be happy. I was giving a certain example in one of our Balavihar class, and that kid still amazes me. After having said, half glass full, half glass empty example, the first time I heard it, it was like, wow. He said, Swamiji, your example is wrong. I said, okay. But you have to prove. You can't just say that it is wrong. I'm ready to accept that it is wrong, provided you have a strong logic for it. He said, the problem is not whether the milk is half or milk is full. The problem is that we usually do not take in the right size glass. What an amazing perspective. Now take the glass which exactly accommodates that quantity of milk. The glass is always full. There is no comparison, there is no feel of, there is so much not there, so much only is there. So I told him that day, I accept what example I gave was not complete. Your logic completes my example. And I said, if you can continue with this mindset for the rest of your life, you will be such a thorough gentleman and thorough successful and happy person in life. None to beat you. But that wisdom has to be carried forward. That was a logical spark. I'm assuming that logical spark came about because his mindset was prepared for that kind of a depth. We can only wish and pray that that mindset continues. What an amazing perspective. But our minds, see, somebody calls, you're calling up somebody's house and you had asked for a certain person and that person has not picked the phone. What is our usual question? I've seldom seen people ask, I've called for this person, is he there? No. Is he not there? To look at things in a negative pattern, in a pessimistic pattern, seems to be our psychological disposition. See, even as Devi group, when you have to ask about the next week's classes, the question is not, do we have class next week? But the question is, we don't have next week class, right? You're trying to condition my mind in trying to tell that, we wish there was no class. It is not just kids. And I'm not trying to ask your age either. At whatever age we are, we still have that same mindset. So here he says, instead of looking like that, practice consciously nirata nirantara sajjana dharma. There are many shades of meaning to this. The first shade of meaning, follow the pious people implicitly. Like for many of us in Chinmaya Mission, whatever Gurudev they did, was it pramana, was a proof. Why do you do it? Because Gurudev did it. That's about it. He is our pramana. So whatever the great masters have laid out path as our direction, following that implicitly. This is one meaning. This is very obvious meaning from this sentence. The second is, if we go deeper into how the pious people or great saints and masters have lived, is because they do not focus around on the people of what they do not have or what they lack, but they focus on what they have, what they are potentially capable of, and tap on that potentiality. So if that is their path, how should we apply that path in our lives? It's very beautiful and simple solution. Everybody that is coming across, that we interact with, refuse to see bad in them. See, 95% of people that we come across are one way or the other directly related to us. Are they not? Family, wife, husband, relation, children, family. Friends, kith and kin, these are the ones you constantly interact with. And within those friends, within that family, within those people that we say that we like to be with, we enjoy, but we also have this flaw that we constantly are peeking into their negativities. And when we constantly are doing the upasana of negativities in others, what will happen to us? Yad bhavam tad bhavati. We would also be constantly nourishing ourselves with these negativities. But instead, if we look at all those positive traits, say this famous story of Duryodhana and Kauravas. Duryodhana represented by Kauravas, representing the Kauravas, and Yudhishthira representing the Pandavas. So there was this last day of tests. All tests were done. There was still one more day. So Dronacharya called both Yudhishthir and Duryodhana. He said, Bhaiya, both of you go into Hastinapur, Old Delhi. Go into Hastinapur. Each one of you have to find one specific quality person. What is that? To Duryodhana, the order was, find a person in entire Hastinapur whom you think is a good person. And for Yudhishthir, the job was exactly opposite. Go search in entire Hastinapur, find one bad person. And at the end of the day, both of them came back empty-handed. Because for Duryodhana, the perspective was, there is not even a single person in this world who can be claimed as a good person. They are not even as good as me. Whereas Yudhishthira, when he was asked, because this was his second task that he was failing, that Dronacharya had given. The first lesson, and this was the last test. So he said, I apologize, I could not find a single person in this entire Hastinapura who can be branded as bad. So then Dronacharya asked him, not even one person, there are so many bad people out there. He said, they may be bad from different perspectives, but when I look deeper into their heart, interacted with them, they have wealth of goodness in them. And that wealth of goodness, when we focus on, the bad that you are talking about becomes very minimal, very small, very tiny. So now, my question is, before judging the world, let us make a judgment on ourselves. A simple question. Are we perfect? Okay. We are not perfect, right? At any which layer, physical level, emotional level, intellectual level, spiritual level, interaction level, giving level, receiving level, so many imperfections. We are not perfect. Are we very clear about it? And us not being perfect, should it not make us humble if we remember that constantly? Pride and arrogance comes into picture only when we think we are better than the rest of them. That's the scope, right? But when we know constantly, remember constantly that I is no perfect. Purposefully I put that sentence. Even that sentence is not perfect. I is no perfect. Then when we look around the world around us, can there be perfection in people? No. So instead of zooming in on people's negativities and constantly claiming that they are not perfect, zoom into their good qualities. What is the benefit? There are people like running this institution here, Dallas, interacting with these many people. There are certain people whom the rest of them says, Swamiji, I tell you, that person is a vicious person. But I am surprised every time I see them, that person interacting with you. It's such pleasantness that they interact. Don't you think that I recognize the other side? I recognize the other side also. But I choose not to rub on that side. Yeah, that is quite visible. You can see it. But I choose not to rub on that side. I'm not saying I'm avoiding them. I do interact with them. But I interact with them rubbing onto that side wherein it is all positive. And they are also shocked. They are also surprised. That in their other interactions there is so much of agitation and frustration coming out. But this one interaction there is all goodness coming out. In spite of me, goodness coming out. It depends on what you draw out of it. Where you tap to draw. So what do the Sajjana do? The Sajjana, Nitya Nirantara, they are doing their dharma of recognizing good around. It is none of our business to, but Swamiji, what if it is constantly agitating us? Agitation, mark these words very clearly. Agitations are self-inflicted. But on the other hand, if somebody comes and tells you that, this is what you have done, hence therefore I am feeling agitated, can you please change your ways? Your statement of wisdom should not be, your agitations are your self-inflictions. That would be called callous, that would be called as arrogance, which we already have in plenty. That would not be called as a spiritual effort to growth. Am I getting this across very clear? Okay, thank you. So when we do interact and when we do feel that hurt and pinched or the pain, it is because we have allowed them to pinch us. There are various steps, various methods. I have already spoken enough about it, wherein I said that first quarantine yourself, protect yourself, because at this moment you are vulnerable, you don't have the capacity to interact. But that is not the permanent solution. That is the escapist's route. But instead, grow so broad and grow in that depth within. I am not talking physical here. I am talking the spiritual broadness and the spiritual depth. Grow with such depth and it gathers that stability that when you interact with any such kind, that which they have to hurt does not reach, does not hurt. And in spite of their efforts, if you keep interacting with their positive side, you will find a change in them. Nirata nirantara sajjana dharma. Hypocrisy is not from their standpoint, it is from our standpoint. My standpoint of hypocrisy at my level would be when I have to hide something and I pretend to be what I am not, then it is hypocritical. But on the other side, you are seeing both. It's like a buffet platter. You see something which is, in most of these restaurants, there is non-vegetarian on one section, vegetarian on one section. Assuming that you are vegetarian, you pick what you want. Are you being hypocritical or are you being wise? You're being wise in choosing what is the necessary. So it is not hypocritical. Now the next level of nirata nirantara sajjana dharma is when we understand what the dharma of the sajjana is. See, when you go to a musician, a vocalist, Hindustani, Carnatic, whatever is the vocalist, to learn, what should be our perspective? To learn it in such a way that we better even the master. Isn't it? You go to a dance teacher to learn the dance so that you can outbeat even the teacher. Not to show off, but if that teacher is the perfection incarnate in that particular field, growing beyond that will be your target. That is the ideal. Now all these Mahatmas, all these Santa Purusha, all these great masters that we come across, what are they? They represent realization in their day-to-day life. And if we go unto them, seeking except that, there is some gadbad somewhere here. You go to a lawyer for counseling in law matters. You go to a cop for protection. You go to a doctor for removing your disease. But when we come to a master, why do we talk all other nonsense except for which that they stand? Nirata nirantara sajjana dharma. Their swadharma is that realization. Let us focus on reaching that this very life with every single effort put. And what is the key? Dhamma. Chhata dhamma sila birati bahu karma. Dhamma is the key. It starts with dhamma. What does dhamma mean? To restrict. To have self-control, self-restraint. Now, what do I mean by self-restraint? Because that also has to be understood in a right sense, or else we take it in a totally different meaning. We overreact in our self-restraint. World and our experience will not give luxuries of trying to choose all good always. If there are roses, there will be thorns. No pavement is protected enough, no path is protected enough that there is nothing that you should be cautious of. That is how the experiences are, that is how the world is. So self-restraint does not mean I will not see, I will not hear, I will not taste, I will not touch, and throughout the whole system. I'm not picking on anybody, but I'm just making a statement here. Don't take it personally. I'm not pointing at you. Huh. It is not about you. So, so there are people who, in a self-restraint of, they come to the point wherein they say, I will do fasting. Daily one fasting. Or don't eat. See, the self-restraint is not about eating or overeating. The self-restraint is understood only when we maintain that balance. Self-restraint is not about speaking or not speaking. Self-restraint is to understand when to speak, what to speak, how to speak, when not to speak, and when to withdraw. Self-restraint in eating does not mean complete abstinence from food, but when to eat, how much to eat, what not to eat, and consciously observe it. But we take to the other extreme. Well, in the name of spirituality, I'll not eat. In the name of spirituality, I will look shabby, I'll not look clean. There are people that I come across. Why are you like this? Hum to bhagat hai ji. I'm a devotee of the Lord. So, does it mean that you have to be unkempt and... it's a weird understanding then. That Lord who is the very incarnation or the representation of purity, you want to go like this impure? And then sit in front of the Lord constantly crying, Bhagwan, 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 Bhagwan. How is the Bhagwan there? He's smiling with such a beautiful, charming smile. And if you are his devotee, how should you be representing him? With such a charming smile on your face. Bhagat है भगवान के. तुम्हारे भगवान बड़े बुरे हैं भाई, रुलाते रहते हैं तुमको. See, that's a totally different thing wherein you are in communion with God and there is that joy of ecstasy coming through the tears. That tears are totally different. With this constant, leaching and expressing tears. It's a very harsh word, but still. But of all the things, if you have to cry, cry in front of Lord, because He is the only one who will not judge you. See, to maintain that equipoise or balance in our every interaction, wherein we so consciously live, there is not even a moment spent to be afraid of, scared of, or feel guilty of what I have done. I shouldn't have done this. I know, but I know why I did that. Once you do, twice you do, every day the same thing. Swamiji, it is not every day, okay? Sometimes. But still it is not justified. Have that balance. Balance of approach wherein everything that you do is done in such equipoise, such delicate balance, such beautiful in its expression. We have that knee-jerk effects. And something happens, hum nahi karenge. I will not anymore. That is not the reaction. Dhamma, have the balance. One overwhelming experience and suddenly I've stopped worshipping the Lord. What is the point? Good, if you don't understand the point, please stop it. as if it was an obligation, upkar being done towards the Lord. Lord, you should be grateful that I am doing worship of you every day. And today, feel regretful because I am not worshipping you. Alright? Have some balance. Don't jump to conclusions, don't overreact. Whether at a physical level, emotional level, or intellectual level, have that complete, that would be called restraint. Restraint is not complete abstinence, it is knowing that balance. Sheela, the next step. Understand the values as they are stated in our scriptures. I can take various examples. One thing that will take my message home across is that, for example, do not say untruth. Which part of this sentence is not understood? Is it not a simple sentence? But each one in our heads have so many variations. It's okay to lie if it is not hurting anybody. It is okay to lie if it is... Which part of the first part of the sentence is not understood? Do not lie. Do not utter anything untruthful. Learn how to say things wherein you say the truthful things, but it is not hurting anybody. Learn to say such things, and it will not be called hypocritical. And for example, if somebody has done, I told you this example earlier too. This Amma who gave me tea, and that tea was, I usually make my own tea, but she was there and she said, Swamiji, I'll make your tea. I said, no need, I'll make it, you drink along with me. Said, no, I'll make. Chalo, banao. And what she made tea was not that great an experience. But I drank. That is my tapasya. Whatever people give without any expression, without any agitation, I consume. That is my tapasya. But this lady won't let, this Amma won't let me go. How is it? Chodo na. Pee to liya maine. She kept asking, how is it? How is it? Can you just check there is somebody outside? I don't know who. So she kept asking, oh, Rolly. So how is it? So I didn't know. Now I had my own restriction of trying to say the truthful thing. So I didn't know how to react. So I kept thinking. Every time she asked that question, I'd put a gulp down. Well, I'm busy. Then finally came up with a solution. I said, Amma, your tea is reminding me of Nirgun Nirakar Parabrahma Paramatma. She was happy, I was happy. Did I lie? No. Did I hurt her? No. What does Nirgun Nirakar Parabrahma Paramatma mean? There is no taste, no smell, no texture, no color. Water boiled and spoiled to be called tea. Nirgun Nirakar Parabrahma Paramatma. She said, okay, good, it reminded you of Paramatma? I said, yes, Amma. I am glad that my tea reminded you of Paramatma. I said, I am also very glad. What is it? Yes, it is not okay. It is not even close to okay to even say it is okay. And later part, I have, don't ask me how it is until you are ready to face what it is. If you don't want to know the truth, don't ask. No, Swamiji. Okay, this is A plus, this is B minus, that is D, that is F. Really? But this was good. Don't ask if you can't handle it. But that is not. So tell the truth always. It's a very simple sentence. But we have such conveniences built into it. It's a virtue. Have compassion universally. Sorry. But we have our own pockets of compassion. If it is my own child, there is one level of compassion. If it is someone else's, I have a compassion with a tag of tolerance. I tell you, whenever I see in the hospitals the nurses, हाथ उठा के नमस्कार करने का मन करता है. And with such smile, with such compassion, but Swamiji, they get paid. Okay, I'll pay you. Come, do it. It is not that easy. Uncomplainingly, they'll keep doing it. If our mother's love can be expanded to the world around, but our compassion is limited again. I saw somebody praying to the Lord while prostrating. He said something which he uttered little loudly, which I could hear. "O Lord, protect me and my family alone." See, there is nothing wrong in praying, protect me and my family. But praying that protect me and my family alone, that clause there. So if I were sitting in the place of Bhagwan, वहीं पे एक रपटा मारता उसको. But Bhagwan is still compassionate. That is the amount of compassion. All that we call as love is not love, it is attachment. Love completely. Loving means giving without any anticipation. I mean, these are all great values. But when practiced with clauses built in it, then they are only conveniences, they are not values. And in order to live this value-based life, we need immense courage. It's not that easy. So if we are having clauses built into our values, it means we are not courageous. Spiritually, we are not strong to say that yes, this can be followed. I think I have shared this experience. I had gone to Gurudev and I had suggested to Gurudev, initiate me with a mantra. Initiate me. Because just then I had finished reading Autobiography of a Yogi, and I had this, that Guru will touch and suddenly I'll get transformed and I'll be in a spiritual realm and blah blah blah. So I said to Gurudev, Okay, what should I do? And I gave him the entire process. Said, tomorrow morning, I gave him the timing also. I'll come at 5 o'clock and you initiate me. And if he had asked any further, what do you mean by initiation? I had no clue. So Gurudev, in his utter compassion, he said, come. So the place where I was staying was like 15-20 kilometers away. And early morning, there are no buses. So 4 o'clock on a bicycle. Came all the way, thali wali and all fruits, flowers and everything with a japamala, and Swamiji, initiate. So he looked at them and touched it and he said, your initiation is read the autobiographies of great masters. Like, itna? Is that all? I tell you, for next month or two, I was feeling so disappointed. Because I had gone with a framework. And that framework was shattered. But once I reached the ashram, that is when I understood the depth of what he had suggested. See, many of us, when we read through these values, we read it with disbelief. It's a feel-good factor. I can read them, I can appreciate them, but cannot practice them. They are impractical. And the questions also people ask, but Swamiji, in our practical world, what do you mean this is not practical or what? Meaning the conviction with which we are ready to listen to them is also from that level wherein we say that these are not practical. But when we read through the masters' lives, their autobiographies, their travelogues, their practice in their day-to-day life reflects these values in constant application. And that constant application is a constant reminder, constant uplifter, constant inspiration in our lives that yes, these can be followed, these can be applied in our day-to-day life. Some of the books that have helped me, which might help you too. Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. The second one. Okay. Because you have continuously writing, I don't want to. The second one is Autobiography of a Yogi. Series of 8 books called Life of Swami Vivekananda. Life and Works of Swami Vivekananda. And the fourth title, In Search of God. There are 2 parts to it. This is by Swami Ramadas, Papa Ramadas. On their website, just Google Papa Ramadas, it should take you to their ashram website. They have a PDF also available. Life and Work of Swami Shivanandji. This is also available free on Divine Life Society headquarters.org. DLSHQ.org. Swami Tapon Maharaj's Wandering in Himalayas and Kailash Yatra. Our own Puja Gurudev's My Trek through Uttarakhand. There are many more masters. Start with these. A constant reminder, constantly keep reading a biography or autobiography of great masters. So we like reading other people's life, right? Your कचड़े magazine में बिकते हैं. It's all those lives of others. Who is wearing what, who is driving what, who is going with whom, who is married, who is divorced, who is having kids, who is not having kids. क्या फर्क पड़ता है? But we derive such pleasure reading others' lives. Okay, let us use that mindset. But change. Instead of reading somebody who is as good as us or as bad as us. I don't want to judge you. So as good as us or as bad as us. It doesn't really help. But instead, if you can read lives of great masters. I'm not even saying great achievers. I'm talking of great masters alone. That would be a great inspiration. To see that these virtues, these values are translated into virtues in our life. And then the last one is Birati Bahu Karma. Many times we are into activity because we have to kill our boredom. Identify all such events of boredom. Curtail them before they can empty us. See, all the gadgets and the science and technology has brought all people together, but it has made our lives apart. Because we fill our so much of emptiness with more emptiness. You have to identify what they are in your life. See, all work and no play makes whom? Makes us dull. So there is some, you have to cut yourself some slack, have some moment wherein you can really relax. But that should not be like, relaxing, wherein it's just squandering your time and resources. See, it is okay to take a nap for 10 minutes, max 15 minutes in the afternoon. But once you hit the bed in the afternoon, by the time you wake up, it is 2 hours, 1.5, 2 hours, 3 hours. Overindulgence. Birati, withdraw from them. Continuing. सातव सम मोहि मय जग देखा, मोते संत अधिक करि लेखा. सातव सम मोहि मय जग देखा. The seventh step leading to a firm foundation in bhakti is to understand. This is more of a Vedantic touch here. Mohi maya jaga sab dekha. To understand and interact with the world, that every aspect of this world is an expression of the Lord alone. Who created this world? Busy scribers answer, Lord created this world. He created every aspect of this world. So every aspect of this world has a certain reason for why it is existing in that condition. We may not understand the reason, we may not understand its purpose. Because the existence of various things in this world is as weird as my existence in this world. Whoever is coming across, whatever experience is coming across our way, it is Bhagavan in that mode coming to us to teach us, uplift us. But his methods of teaching and upliftment are unique. Sometimes he may pat on our back to uplift. Sometimes he may slap to uplift. But it is rude. Yeah, the rudeness is given to shake certain things out of us so that we can grow further. See, our own conviction about spiritual upliftment becomes our own block. Spirituality does not mean doing good, being good. Life is a mixture of both good and bad. But spirituality is transcending both goodness and badness to experience divine. So our effort in life is not to make my life good, but my effort is to make my life divine. Because of the earlier definition that life has to be good, we resist anything that we define as not good. And the definition of good and bad is very flimsy. What I define as good may not be good for you. What you define good may not be good for me or good enough for me. So the purpose of life is not to have a good life, but it is to have a divine life. And how do we interact and learn that divinity? That every person, every experience that we come through is by the Lord in that form unto me. If a postman comes with a telegram with a very agitating news in it, do you pull out your shotgun and shoot the postman? Don't we have the saying, don't shoot the messenger? But that is exactly what we do in our day-to-day life. Every person coming in our life is bringing in a message, bringing in an experience. From whom? From the Lord himself. In that very form, it is the Lord coming. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirбhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srajamyaham. I will come into your life in every yuga. Their yuga doesn't mean Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga or Dwapar Yuga. Yuga means a moment. Every moment in your life, I am coming, interacting with you. In different forms, of course. So whatever is happening unto us is not by them, but through them. I don't know, this is a very strong message, powerful message, but it takes a while for us to understand this and let this knowledge sink in our day-to-day life. So even if we understand that it is through them and not by them, all the blame games in life are gone. All the complications of equations are gone. And on a different level, Vishnu Sahasra Nama, the glories of Vishnu given in 1,000 names. So one would imagine that it should start with the first name, Vishnu, Narayana, something like that. But what is the first name that it starts with? Vishwam. Meaning what? Vishwa meaning this world, this Jagat. This Jagat is the first form of the Lord's expression. And how should our interaction with that Lord around us be? If we are devotees. That see everything as the Lord, His presence. And in order to inculcate this particular habit in our Hindu system, tradition, ritual and conditionings that have been created by the rishis are for recognizing this one purpose. बड़े 30 मार खान बनते हैं when we ask the question. I don't believe in rituals. There is a purpose. And what is the purpose? To recognize and inculcate that one aspect, that everything is divine. Food, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi, is divine. Eat with the attitude of that divinity. Mother Earth is divine. Air is divine. It was not because they were primitive or they were scared of these natural forces, hence started worshipping. That would be a very poor interpretation. But it was because they recognized every aspect as divine's expression. We worship a stone, we worship a plant, we worship an animal, we worship any form is worthy of worship. See, the Indian form of salutation, what do we do? Put both hands together and say Namaste. Such a deep significance in that. Namaste is not one word. It's actually two words put together. Te. They could have said Namatvam. Tvam means you. See, in English, you with respect, you without respect, you is you. But in Hindi, Tvam means tu. Te means aap. In English, maybe the word would be you and thou, the old English. Salutations unto thou. Who are thou? Who art thou? Thou art the divine, unto whom I am offering myself. It is not just my salutations, offering myself. And we do namaste, but kuch nahi samajhte. It doesn't enter our brains. That this whole entity is being offered unto that divine which is your expression. Once even this attitude develops, can there be arrogance? Can there be a false pride and things carried around? Because everything that I am interacting with is nothing but divine. My Lord in that form. Say whether it is your Shiva or Lalita or Rama, Krishna, whoever it is given you a vision. He says, tomorrow I am coming into your life in disguise. You don't know which form he is going to come in. So how will your interactions be? With every single person. With every single interaction. Pata nahi, he may be my Krishna. And that is what Vishwam means, that he is expressing as everything in this universe. That form of Lord of yours is interacting with you every single day. And still we say, where is the God? Where is He protecting me? And you want to understand His compassion? In spite of such audacity or callous behavior in not recognizing Him, He still provides for, He still takes care, He doesn't abandon. So if you read the Greek mythology of, and those names are really strange for me. Hedius, the 8th to 10th grade, they keep reading these books. So I had read one of those books. I said those gods are, they have to be constantly nourished with our prayers, or else their powers will go low. And if you don't pray, they get mad at you and they punish you. God is not that kind of a concept. He is right with us, right around us. He is constantly taking care of us. सातव सम मुई जग देखा मोते संत अधिक करी लेखा. Santa, great pious people. Treat them as you would treat God. Swamiji, today we don't treat God as anything. That is why all the Sant are also treated equally with equanimous approach. As nobody. So, these t-shirts have these voice cracks. Nobody is great and I am nobody. You have seen that? Nobody is great. I am nobody. Kabir Das ji says that when Guru Govinda, both of them come in front of you, whom would I prostrate first to? So he says, Govinda is the one who put me in this world of confusion. And Guru is the one who took me out of it. So my first prostration is to the Guru, then to the God. Mote Santa Adhika Kari Lekha. So this was being taught in our Siddhavari ashram, and somebody went to Gurudev and he asked him, Swamiji, I am really confused. I love you and I love my God also. If both of you come, if Narayana comes right now, whom should I prostrate to? He said, and his humility is amazing. He was a roaring lion with humility. So he said, you will not have any confusions. I said, why? Because I would have been already prostrating unto Narayana and you will have no confusions left. So he said, Swamiji, you are extraordinary. I said, yes, I am an extra among the ordinary. Mote Santa Adhika Kari Lekha. We have 2 more to go. And the plan is we assemble back here by 10:45, take a small break, come back. 10:45 nahi, 10:45. Then by 11:45, I should be able to complete the rest 2 steps. 11:45, I will give you questions. You can go discuss them for 45 minutes. Come here by 12:30. Then we will have our question answers. And by 1 o'clock, we will wind up. The plan sounds good? Om Shant Shant Shanti हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।